Okay, welcome everybody. This game is part of the Open Hearth Gaming Community, formerly known as the Gauntlet. We're an inclusive and I think friendly gathering of folks who like to game together. If you'd like to play with us, I'll leave a link in the description below this video. You can find lots more info there. This is going to be a session 0 for a Monsterhearts 2 game by Avery Adler. Today we'll mostly be creating characters and establishing setting, but we hope to get to a few scenes. So with no further ado, I want to kind of introduce the game using CATS, this framework that is popular in Open Hearth, which is concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. So the concept for Monsterhearts. Imagine that we're making like an HBO pilot, like a teen supernatural horror romance kind of thing. So Monsterhearts is about the messy lives of teenagers who are secretly monsters. It explores the terror and confusion of having a body that's changing without your permission, the adolescence thing. The monstrosity of all our characters is literal. You know, we will be playing werewolves and witches and ghosts and all sorts of things. But it's also allegorical in that they're standing in for experiences, common experiences of adolescence, like alienation and shame and queerness and self-destructiveness, those kinds of things. In terms of the aim of the game, it's really about exploring relationships and also internal strife within characters. So while not exactly a player versus player game, it's certainly a game where characters will hurt one another, will make mistakes, will navigate social fallout, things like that. You're first and foremost going to be teenagers, but also monsters. But your monstrosity will be somewhat hidden. You all blend in to some extent. That's kind of one of the starting premises, until you don't, of course. And that'll be part of the narrative. Some goals will be special to your characters, but some will be more common teen stuff like saving face or gaining friends or social leverage or dumping your pain on other people, punishing your enemies, things like that. Feel free to really lean into all that stuff. The PC with the messiest relationships at the end wins, if anybody wins in this game. So really lean into your dysfunction in this game. The tone, like I said, teen supernatural romance, elements of horror. It can move between comedic and serious, and that's fine, but melodrama is always going to be the main thing that's happening. The media touchstones are things like classics like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Vampire Diaries, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. There's lots of touchstones. So the subject matter can be somewhat edgy at times. Dysfunctional relationships, like I mentioned already, teen sexuality is definitely right front and center. There's a very common basic move that's about turning people on. Coercive power can sometimes come forward, trauma, abuse. It depends which skins we actually choose ultimately, which we'll talk about later, and even violence. And a lot of social violence sometimes, not so much in terms of physical violence, but it can go there easily. So because we have some of these challenging subject matter, I want to talk a little bit about safety tools and kind of the layered set of safety tools that we have for this game. So the first one that I want to talk about is just the X card. If at any time you feel uncomfortable with content that's being introduced in the game, either by me or by other players, you can use the X card. You can make an X, you can put X in the chat, you can say X card, and we'll take a pause and we'll find a way to veto or excise that content. And you may need to tell us what content exactly we need to get rid of, and then we can rewind. But you're never going to have to explain why you want to get rid of a certain content, or just whatever doesn't work for you. It's fine. We're going to take it out. We want everyone to be comfortable. And then we can, take it out, fade to black, take a short break, whatever seems appropriate in the moment. We're also using the open door policy, which means at any point You can step away either temporarily or permanently from a session or the whole series if you want, without giving a reason again. It's just helpful to know if you are stepping away temporarily to just let me know why you might be coming back. Not why, when you might be coming back. You don't have to tell me why. Just like, oh, I probably won't come back this evening, or I'll be back in 10 minutes, I think, but maybe not. Just give me a general idea, because that'll influence the way we continue with play. Okay. Lines and veils are the next part of the safety tools. Lines are hard lines in the game that we just do not cross. These are things that are just not going to happen. We just agree from the outset that they're not going to happen in the game. They're not alluded to either or off screen or on screen. They simply don't happen. Veils are things that can happen off screen in a game. So they're allowed to happen, but they don't occupy camera time. So the classic example is, for instance, frequently sexual content is veiled. So we might have the beginnings of a flirtation scene. We know they go into the bedroom, fade to black. That's the veil over sexual content. Then we see them waking up in the morning or something like that. And we all know what happened, but we're not going to put it on screen and describe it. So that's the classic one of that. So take a moment now and look at the character creeper and check out the lines and veils. I know some of you have already put stuff up there. And so go ahead and take a look. And you can add things or subtract, don't subtract things, but you can add things as you see fit. You can even add new lines at the bottom if you like. So review all of that, and when you've had a chance and you're feeling like you've said your say there, just give me an okay in the chat of the of Zoom. Yeah, fridging, I had to look it up the first time I saw it too, Travis. All right, great. Looks like I think everybody has chimed in. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I'll just review them here. We are going to have lines on COVID-19 and pandemics. We're going to have a line on dental trauma, on fat hatred, on homophobia, on police misconduct or brutality, and on sexual assault and violence, on student-teacher romance, which is definitely something that we want to keep our eye on in this game because there are a lot of students and a lot of teachers. And transphobia will also have a line. So veiled content that will happen off screen, like I said before, consensual sexual activity will be in that category. Endangerment or harm to domestic animals, the same to children, and the same to pregnant women or infants. Incest will be veiled, as well as racism and sexism. And then we have an ask first category. So this is, you might want to steer away from these, but if you want to explore one of these, just we can just hit the pause button and we can talk a little bit about them and see in the particular moment that they're arising how people feel about them. And those will be asked first on adult minor romance, on bullying, on fridging, on loss of personal autonomy or mind control. That'll depend on which skins we use, but that is something that can come up in this game. We will have an ask first on permanent injury to characters, on self-harm, and on suicide and suicidal ideation. Okay. Great. Let me come back to Zoom. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about what Avery Adler calls the agenda for this game. And it's something that I'm just going to hit on every time we start a session, just because I think it's really useful as an orientation. So the primary mission is to play all your characters with just curiosity and fierceness, and go all out. Don't hold back on these characters. Don't try to make them heroes. They are monsters, remember, and they are teenagers. So let yourself run wild with them. But the agenda here, I think I can put it in the chat. It's also at the top of, well, hello. No, I can't pay attention to you right now. There, I just put it in the chat, the agenda for this game. Make each character's life not boring. So advocate for them, but don't keep them safe. They are who they are. Tell us what they want, what they'll do to get it. Again, don't be reserved or held back with your characters, or they might get boring. And in a similar vein, keep the story feral. Stay loose and spontaneous. Don't try to domesticate it or predict the story. Messy and chaotic are really good. And say what the rules demand. So the dice will give us constraints, and the moves will give us constraints that hopefully lead to more creativity. If you're supposed to fail at something, then go ahead and lean into it and fail at it. If the dice say you fail, go for it. There are mechanical ways to avoid that, but if it ends up that you fail, yeah, jump in. And say what honesty demands. So express whatever's important to your character. And if something doesn't feel right to you as a player, go ahead and say so. And yeah, stay honest and let us know. Okay. So much talking on my part during a session 0. About skins a little bit. So some of you have already kind of floated some skin ideas, so why don't we just do a quick go around and just review what's on your mind in terms of skins, what options are on your mind, and you may have already started filling one in, and you can let us know that too, and then we'll just see what the big picture is after everyone's had a chance. So I see David is the first person on my screen. So David, do you want to tell us what skin ideas you're thinking about?
Yeah, hi folks, I'm David S, he, him pronouns. I'm coming off of a cold, so if I cough a bunch, that's why. But for my skin, I'm thinking of going with the Infernal. I haven't played one before. They look fun and dangerous and awful. So I've got my stat line filled in already. I think I'm going with +1 hot, -1 cold, -1 volatile, +2 dark. I am going with the moves Dark Recruiter, which gets me to mark experience whenever I bring an innocent soul to the Dark Power, who I'm kind of in the process of feeling out what they are and who they are and what they want. And also the move Soul Debt that just comes with the Infernal. And the basic idea is that I owe a debt to an undetermined, as of now, Dark Power. And I get 2 bargains, which are basically just special powers that the Dark Power provides me in exchange for basically my soul. Or at least lots and lots of strings that it can then spend on me to make bad things happen. So the 2 bargains that I've selected are the power flows through you, which means I give the Dark Power string in exchange for a +2 on my next roll. I think that means I have to declare that I'm using that bargain before I roll, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then the other one that I have is Elsewise Power, which allows me to give the Dark Power another string in order to use a move that I don't have. And I can only use the move one time. After that, I can't ever call upon it again. But the move can come from any skin in the game. So I'm going to be thinking about all kinds of combinations to go with for that too.
Great. Oh, great, David. So we'll do a round of character introductions once everyone's settled on skins. But at this point, just let me know, what you're thinking about so that we can kind of get the lay of the land. And then we'll go into depth on stats and moves at the next, during the character intros. Donna, what are you thinking about?
So I've landed on the Worm, which is, I guess, a limited edition skin. From I think Second Skins. So yeah, the Worm is controlling and manipulative and jealous and envious and yeah, a bit of an
all sorts
asshole.
of good stuff.
Social currency, treating other people like objects. That's the kind of center of, a dragon. Dragons like to hoard.
People and things.
Yeah, I mean, they're the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So from a long line of dragons, so the family of worms of which the character is going to be a part of might be important, but it might just be the kind of background house on the hill. The two moves I'm looking at are the bait, which is a beautiful collection of things, TBD, that other people covet. Um, anything from jewelry to record collections to, God knows what. And also the opportunist, which allows you to gain more strings on people than you would otherwise, if they are weak and vulnerable, especially.
No, you won't find any people like that in this game.
I don't know.
Great. All right, that sounds good. So we've got an infernal and a worm. Travis, you were thinking you mentioned queen or witch. Where are you leaning these days? Or
I'm leaning towards witch, I think.
okay.
And
Sounds good.
my gut is to play that as somebody who's just discovered their power, but is doing their best to sort of fit in and not stand out. So I think the powers will be subtle until you can't control them anymore.
Excellent. All right, Stephen, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the playbooks people were talking about, and I think I have an idea for a Fae.
For Fae? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so we'd have an infernal, a worm, a witch, and a Fae. We won't have a lot of volatile, but
No, I'm gonna be a punchy Fae. Don't worry.
oh, you're gonna be a punchy
Jose.
Fae? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Oh, great. That'll be fun. Okay, great. All right. So why don't let me just take a look at the keeper right now. Got it right here. Looks like some of you have started putting things in. Some of you are already done. So let's take a moment to go through and do stats and things like that. Travis, let me know if you need any help with that, and I will start removing the skins that we are not using, and we'll go from there. So in terms of stats, if you hover over row 10, you'll see the two stat lines that are possible for each of your skins, and you can choose one of those stat lines. And the same with the playbook moves. You can just hover over line 19 and it'll tell you what your starting playbook moves are or what kind of choices you have. if you can at some point, it doesn't have to be immediately, but at some point before the next session, choose a portrait. That would be helpful for me because I'm going to create a Miro board using the portraits. And there's a Pinterest board there if you need any inspiration.
Oh, so what's the link to the Pinterest board? Where is that?
It's on the first page of the Keeper.
Okay, the info
Let's
page.
see. The info page, yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Did I put it there? Yeah, I thought I did. Yeah, there it is. So just give me an okay in the chat when you're kind of settled in, at least on the mechanical aspects of your character, the playbook moves, the the stats, things like that. Okay, looks like everyone's set up with that. Great. This is going to be a reminder for most people, but I put a one-page kind of player sheet in the character keeper that explains the basic moves, and all these basic moves are basically about influencing one another. The game's about social influence, really, and social combat rather than physical combat. The basic moves, like most PBTA games, they emerge from the conversation and they feed back into it. I don't have any moves or rules of my own in this game, and not formalized ones. And as most PBTA games, we were just using 2d6, success with cost, and failure. The stats that we're looking at, the hot stat, the cold, the volatile, and the dark, are connected to particular moves. The hot stat is connected mainly to turning someone on. The one thing I'll say about turning someone on in this game is it's going to be directed at you at some point. And you're going to get turned on. The concept behind it is adolescents can't decide what turns them on or when they get turned on. And so there's a kind of, you just have to go with it. Just because someone turns you on doesn't mean you have to behave in any particular way, but the fact of being turned on is not within your control. And that's part of the difficulty of being a person, or an adolescent in this case. So I will say that about turn on, because it's an important and kind of core move here. Then the cold related moves are about shutting someone down, which is very kind of a social shutdown of somebody else, saying something horrible about them, pushing them against the locker, something that's trying to socially intimidate them. And the stay cool is kind of the reverse side of that. When you're afraid of something, you use the cool stat to try to keep your cool. The volatile moves are lash out, that is when you actually physically are trying to harm somebody. So we reserve that for physical harm, or at least the intent to physically harm. And then the runaway move is when you just want to get out. The dark move is gaze into the abyss, which is a little bit unusual for this game. And so it's a moment in the narrative where you are you move into some kind of liminal space of some sort. It's a supernatural game. It doesn't have to be a supernatural trance state. It could be you're just staring off into the sky or out at the ocean, or browsing the web or something, or playing Candy Crush Saga or something, whatever it might be, it puts you in this state where you can glean information or visions about things that are happening in your world, and it's used. You use the dark stat for that. So those are the basic moves. We won't talk much about the sex moves and the darkest self right now. I think we'll talk about those when we encounter them. Hold on, my voice just went. But the other move that's on the basic move sheet that I do want to mention is pulling strings. There is an economy in this game of social influence that's based on this idea of strings. We have strings on one another. If I have a string on you, that means I have some kind of influence or impact on you, and I can leverage that against you. And there's a mechanical way to do that. And again, we'll encounter that. We'll flesh that out when we encounter it. Yeah. Okay, that's enough of rule stuff. Like I said, we can clarify things as we go along. Let's talk a little bit about what setting we want. And let me open it up to you all. Where do we want to be? I mean, in a small town, in a big town, a beach town, a mountain town, forest, a desert. Do we, we're all going to be going to the same school. So if there's something about the school that occurs to you, we can talk about that as well. So let's just toss out some ideas about the most general setting, like where this might happen. Anybody have an idea of where we might find ourselves in this story?
I mean, I've never seen Monsterhearts set in a desert town, so that would be interesting to me.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of some desolation, though where the fairy woods are going to be, I don't know.
There could be fairy canyons and fairy arroyos.
Stereotype.
That's a fair point. You do want to have kind of a the wilderness, the undescribed wilderness that you can just like run into and like wait the night out if you go into your darkest self and need to just like chill out for a while.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in a desert town, there's a lot of undescribed wilderness around you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, however, you're the Fae, so if there's something like that you can think of in the desert, then that's cool.
I think the last game you and I, David, were in where it was in a desert town, right?
Yeah, the last Monsterhearts game I played was a desert town, actually, but part 2, it's cool.
Breaking free of the domination of the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yes, we do want to break the domination of the Pacific Northwest. Well, sounds like people are open to, I guess we're moving towards the Southwest then. It could be California, it could be Arizona, it could be New Mexico, but something in a desert kind of setting.
How populated do we want the area to be? Because I mean, could do, small town Rickety Gulch where there's 100 people and everyone knows each other and each grade has about 12 people in it. Or you could do somewhere that's kind of just outside LA or something like that. I think there are deserts right outside LA.
Sure.
There's a weird little place in Canada. Canada has one small desert that's in between 2 mountain ranges, which would give sort of the range if people care about the geography and the forest and stuff. It's in BC and it's like Canada's warmest place and stuff. I'm great if it's in the Southwest and that's what you prefer, but I'm just wondering if people want the access to more flora and fauna.
So tell us about it a little bit, Travis. I'm intrigued. I don't know BC very well. So it's between mountain ranges. So there would be, like, as you rise in elevation, the things change.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the name. I'll have to look it up, but
That's okay. No.
it's also, I mean, because it's Canada's warmest place, it's also kind of becoming more of a retirement area. It's near Kamloops, is kind of one of the biggest cities out there. And so I don't know what that adds to it being a retirement town, as Canadians are no longer willing to drive to go to Florida. They are starting to think about this space in BC as a real but as a real option for retirement. That's still not snowy. They're not very snowy.
Okay. Is it like
I'm not
high,
fussed if that's
high
not
desert?
what people want. That's just an option to pull in some of the other things.
Well, I wanted to circle back because we can leave that open for the moment, like exactly if it's in BC or if it's in the US Southwest. But what do you guys think about small town and large, mid-sized to even large city? It creates a very different tone for the game, and so I'm curious what other people would like to see in terms of that.
I mean, I think I prefer small town, although obviously an Irish small town is very different from an American small town. I think with the small towns release that came up very early on in the Monsterhearts 2 release schedule was like they were all about 20,000 people, right? I went, give or take. And I'm going, okay, that's several hundred times bigger than what I think of a small town. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of a place where everyone kind of knows everyone else, or at least everyone knows each other's businesses or whatever. If not like firsthand, then by reputation.
So smallish town.
Smallish.
But not a podunk nothing dot somewhere. Yeah. That gets, yeah. All right. Are people okay with that? For some reason, I like Travis, when you said the mountains, I like that part of the physical landscape of like having a mountains nearby. So I'm imagining high desert with mountains. I don't know exactly where that is, but if that works for people. And then let's go around and just have each person endow the town with something about the town, either about the physical environment or something that's special about the place, something that it's known for, anything that you want. So we'll just do a quick round. We could go in character keeper order. All right. Get used to that. So, Stephen, tell me something about this place.
I mean, the first thought that comes to my mind, and this maybe places the town a little bit, but I feel like a regional casino. Like that's not, I don't know if it's like in the town, like I don't know. I'm just thinking because I have like Reno is just like like an hour's drive and a couple hours drive from me. So that's what I always think of for desert towns. But yeah, I imagine like a regional casino, not like, one of the big Las Vegas casinos, but like the regional pool for like the town's economy.
Cool. David,
let me think. Did we decide, are we doing more like a southwestern thing, or are we aiming for the Pacific Northwest BC thing? I just missed that part.
We didn't decide.
Okay.
But we did decide. I think we're leaning towards the desert, a high desert, and with mountains nearby.
Okay, gotcha. And it's a feature of the town.
Yeah, something about the town.
Okay.
Or the school too, if you'd like to.
Okay, sure. Let me know if this tracks with a desert. It might not. Are we thinking smaller town?
Yeah, we didn't say how small is small. We did
Smaller,
say that
though it's
20,000
not.
was too big.
Okay.
I think Dennis said people know each other. It's
Okay. Okay.
easy
Okay.
to be anonymous, I think
Yeah.
the idea.
Okay. So, I'm thinking, and this might take some explanation, like a giant, like out of commission, electric shovel. If people are familiar with what those are, they're kind of like giant cranes.
Mhm.
You would see them in mining towns back in the day.
Mhm.
But there would be these giant, like, men. I can't even imagine how many thousands of pounds they are, but these basically giant shovels that you would use for mining. And there's a lot of them around the US, at least, where once the mining dries up, the shovel is way too big to ship anywhere, and it's expensive to tear it all down, so they just get left in a field.
Oh.
So would that make sense for a desert? Because then I'm gonna be like, well, wait a minute, is the geology of the area appropriate for mining and all that kind of thing?
Sure,
But
I
think
mean, if we're near mountains, like
Mhm.
I like I don't know. I would often pass through. I forget like that some desert mining town that's like halfway to Reno.
Mhm.
That like that's its big thing is the silver mining rush. So like I feel like it's possible.
So it might be, I'm imagining that it was a mining town at some point, maybe a silver mining town, and that dried up, like you said, and now the casino is coming in. That's the main employer, or but there's been a history of mining in the area,
something like that, yeah.
and we got the shovel out there.
I'll see if I can find like an example photograph here, but yeah, something like
Cool.
that.
Great. All right. Travis, do you want to add a detail or something about this place?
This might be just because I'm stuck on whatever the place is in BC, but what if because of the casino, there is in a small town, there's a fair amount of come from away people who are just like annoying to everybody, but they have to surface be polite to them because it's income for the town.
Come from away, you mean like tourists coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Annoying outsiders.
I'm picturing lots of teenage eye rolls as people are working retail and
Okay.
coffee shop jobs and
that might be new with the casino, whereas before it was a little bit more local, right?
yeah. And if it's an old mining town, then it's probably, a quarter or a tenth of the size of what it was. And they're just scrambling. Chamber of Commerce straight scrambling to find something, and they managed to get a small casino started there.
Great. I'm getting the feel that the town hasn't been doing well and might have some ray of hope with the casino. And there might be also, I'm getting a sense that there's some ambivalence to the kind of business the casino has brought to the town, among the townsfolks. All right.
I think as casinos became legal here in Canada, it was seen as this great opportunity that turned out to be basically a big drag on a lot of the town. Like everyone's like, "Oh, this is the big new hope," and then it's just sort of dirty and unwanted people and rude people So if that's interesting, it's an idea.
Sure. If nobody has any objections to that, let's go with that. Okay, great. Donna, tell me something about the place.
Yeah, I'm going to lean into a little bit of the kind of old mining company town kind of setup. Maybe, a good half of the town is, those, company housing, big, or like small houses for workers that were built back in, whenever, the late 19th century or early 20th century or whenever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them still standing or run down or vacant or whatever. And maybe like some kind of big rail yard or something like that. Again, seeing little use because I hear you're not fans of trains in America. But yeah, maybe kind of like not industrial, but kind of rundown area of the town from when things were much busier.
Cool. Okay, big rail yard, kind of in disuse, vacant company housing from the early part of the century, maybe, or of the 20th century, I guess. Not this one. And that's a big shovel that you just showed us, David. I'm glad to get a visual because I did not realize how big that shovel was going to be. All right, cool. So I think we have enough to go on with the general setting. So the next step would be characters. I know some of you have already done some of the mechanical aspects and kind of given us a few hints, but you can kind of fill them out a little bit, talk about their physicality, and if you want to say anything about who they are or anything about any bits of backstory that will help us understand them. I see that you all have portraits up, which is great. It helps me visualize people. So why don't we just do a round of introductions, and I might ask some follow-up questions of you as you do your introduction, and we'll just see if we can flesh out at least the beginning outlines of some of these characters within the setting that we have here. Yeah, let's just go in character keeper order again, which I believe is Stephen first.
Yeah, I'm playing August, he, him, the Fae. He is, I mean, things I kind of, him is he's disheveled, piercing eyes. I kind of, like, against kind of the kind of, like, I think that he is always, like, I think he's a tall, kind of, thin in more of a sinewy way.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is always wearing used like things like combat jackets that are maybe one size too big for him usually. And always kind of are fit a bit like baggy on him. I have for my origin Faeborn, and I have some thoughts about that, but I also want to check in about it because some of the ideas I had about that were might I didn't see anything in the lines and veils, but I wanted to touch on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that my mom is Fae. She is from the Fae realm. I think that she like was like the wife, the queen consort or something to the Fae king, and he was just abusive and terrible, and she fled to the mortal realm to hide from him.
So are you the son of
Yeah, I'm the
said
son.
king?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Are people okay with that domestic situation? Sounds like they are, Stephen. Sounds good. So do you know about your heritage? Has your
I
mom been transparent or
I don't
opaque?
think so. I think that in fact that's like why we're in the desert. Like this is like a place where the Fae has a harder time like reaching.
Mhm.
That's why she moved us out here.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's like probably been like I'm one of the more newcomer families to the town. I think my mom works in the casino because we've moved around a lot growing up.
Uh-huh. So you're kind of on the lam
Yeah.
with dad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And then so your powers, I'm just curious about them. The fairy contract power, have you already had experiences that kind of lead you to understand that, or is that kind of still kind of nebulous for you?
I think it's nebulous to me. I think that for August, there's like a sense that if he feels someone has lied to him or like broken their word, then that's just the cosmic scales balancing things out.
Mm-hmm. So he like sees it and he says,
Yeah.
"Oh, that was just instant karma for that
Yeah,
person."
I think
He
it's even
hears
I think it
rolling.
even definitely might be more recent that he's started to pick up on this. And it's like I think it's definitely something that his mother hasn't picked up on yet, because she would probably be super worried about it.
Mm-hmm. And then last question, how is your relationship with your mom after all this moving about and being on the run and you don't really understand?
I think it's kind of angry. I think that my mom always has excuses for why we're moving to new towns. She has that never really sound right, but I get dragged along anyway. Like there's definitely like weird things like all the times I got sent to school in kindergarten with like a pickle and peanut butter sandwich, like and like no other kids had one of those. Like
You just gave me a really intense flashback to pickle and peanut butter sandwiches. Sorry, I didn't know that anybody else got those. Sorry, I interrupted you.
no, it's okay.
Okay, yeah, so you've been dragged around by mom, and she hasn't been clear on what's going on. Um, uh, Great. All right. I think that's good to start with.
Okay.
All right. David, do you want to tell us about Chloe?
Yeah, so I mean, this is what I've got sort of thought of so far. So Chloe is an infernal. And my thinking is that she is probably like a junior in high school, runs cross country, likes to go on long several mile runs by herself through the desert wilderness when trying to get miles in for the week. Probably most of her friends are gonna be collected from that sort of clique, that group, that team. I'm thinking that tends to wear maybe more dark, loose kinds of clothing. Like I'm thinking like black turtlenecks and things like that whenever the weather is cool enough. I imagine if it's a desert, you get a lot of temperature variation. But otherwise, she has this sort of unsure of herself look about her. She has no idea what she wants to do for college, if she is going to college, if she is going to have a career, has not thought anything about that, because she's been in basically survival mode for a while, and I'll talk about that for a second. Tell me if this sounds okay. And I totally just stole this from a Reddit thread because I was looking up ideas for infernals, but I was thinking that she could have been someone who was very unsure of herself and rather insecure, as many young teenagers are. She kind of ends up flocking to boys who prey on that. And she has recently been in what was really a fairly manipulative, abusive relationship. And my thinking is that the dark power that she now serves is what got her out of that relationship. She couldn't find a way to extract herself from it on her own, comes across the dark power, and now she's out of the relationship. I wonder if it would be too Riverdale and too dramatic to say that the way that the relationship ended is whoever the boy was, he's just like dead now. Like there was some kind of mysterious, like something happened and he died in a very violent fashion that was like kind of a big deal. And people are still talking about it. No one knows how it happened or who did it, but his body was found and it wasn't good. And now she serves this dark power, relies on it too much, and can't imagine a world without it because she doesn't know how to stand on her own 2 feet. She needs this thing to keep her safe now, is kind of the thinking that she has after this relationship. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for now. She's a well-meaning person, but she's getting basically, I think, what's the term, boiling a frog?
Yeah.
I think she's getting slowly frog boiled into doing increasingly more awful things for this dark power.
From one abusive relationship into another, right?
Yeah, there's probably some poetry there. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for her.
So this whole stuff with the ex-boyfriend, let's give him a name.
Oh no, I have to do
You want me
names. Could you?
Sure. His name is Phil. Phil, the abusive ex-boyfriend. Phil, did Phil live here? Oh, we haven't named our town, you guys. What is the name of our town? Everyone called him Flip. I like that. Well, let's think about that. If anyone comes up with a town name, we can go back to that. But Phil, anyways, did Phil live here in town? Was he a part of the school, or?
Yeah, I'm thinking so. He was, my grade, and we were in. I mean, God, we must have been together since freshman year. I mean, we were pushing 3 years, which is insane for someone our age. That is a long relationship. And so obviously I was not thinking about my future. I was just trying to kind of get by on a day-to-day with him, and with my friend groups and people judging me for being with him, and just like all of that.
Okay, so that some of the other characters may have known him, or at least known of him, and
yeah, I'm thinking he went to school here. Like it's kind of one of those things where like a student is dead now.
Yeah, Flip's gone. Bad things happen to Flip. Okay. And then the other question I had for you was, so the dark power, yeah, I was thinking of Spring's name too. For some reason I want to say Dry Springs, but who would call it a place that? But we can think of a Spring's name. What was I saying? Oh, so the dark power, how does it appear to Chloe? Is it a person, or is it a voice in her head?
That's the part I'm still working on, because you can get so creative with it. I don't know. I like the idea that it is really more of a shadowy thing that exists just kind of in the periphery of your vision. I don't know if anyone has ever seen the film The Black Coat's Daughter, but it's a horror film. It's really good if you like slow burns. And in that film, there is basically a devil or a demon, but it's never really seen explicitly. It just kind of appears in the periphery, and it's a shadow that essentially fades, and eventually leaves you abandoned once it's had its way with you. So I was thinking of maybe it having some kind of a shadowy quality to it, so that other people aren't really able to interact with it directly until it's too late, or until it's already got its eye on you and you're done for. Something like that maybe, but I need to figure out the details more.
All right, well, we'll play around with that. A shadowy figure that somehow communicates to Chloe, but other people may not perceive them directly, at least for the moment. Okay. All right, so that's something to go on, I think. I guess that's a first picture of Chloe. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Why don't we go ahead and take our first break here, and then we'll come back for the next two introductions, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Let's take a 10-minute break. So come back at 10 after the hour. Is that cool? And I will pause the recording. Look, I remembered. Okay, everybody. So we are going to continue with our character introductions. And next up is our witch, Alistair. Travis, do you want to introduce us to Alistair?
Yeah, Alistair is everything's a front with Alistair. Is putting on super preppy, sort of clean cut, mean kid kind of thing, while being at home, nerdy kid, doing the research, stumbled upon the stuff that has sort of opened up his power as he's figuring it out. Yeah, I don't know. Haven't thought too much about him. I just sort of think about his attitude, where he's basically hiding stuff all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that his power is sort of bleeding through. And so, up till now, he's sort of been hiding his true self under clothes and attitude and all of that. And now he's starting to lose control of that as he's gaining power. Like his out of control powers, his new powers are sort of setting that off. So his reading through dark sides of the internet, it said, his origin. I picked Tumblr as his origin for that. Just him sort of reading witchy poetry and stuff, and sort of led him in one direction to another. And so definitely a jerk on the outside, maybe not that on the inside, but also just no, like, everything is about appearances for him. He's just terrified of people really seeing him.
Is he like a popular kid?
I guess so. Yeah, I think so. I think if you're sort of tend towards the well-dressed and mean side, then you're popular.
There's got a little bit of a queen in him.
Sure. Yeah. And I was wondering, David, I wonder how you feel about flipping one of his old friends.
Ooh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That works.
So he's sort of on a again, keeping up appearances. Let's just say his appearance is that he's devastated by Flip's death. We'll leave it at that. We'll figure that
out. Great. Yeah, and I thank you for mentioning it. I think it was Stephen that mentioned the NPC tab. I hadn't unhit it, so it's open there, so we can put people like Flip and other folks into the NPC tab as you like. And so particularly if you create an NPC, then feel free to start that process on the NPC tab, and we can all kind of contribute to it as we go along. Yeah. So what kind of powers is Alistair dealing with? I mean, what is it that he's noticing that's kind of unraveling him a bit?
I was looking at the hexes. I have picked the Ring of Lies hex, which cracks me up. When anybody lies, they just hear a piercing ringing noise. And so yeah, I certainly picture him sort of mumbling that in the back of a classroom as somebody's just going on a rant about something that's not real. And also the ability to drop illusions on people, bugs and scary things and demons, all of that. So Alistair's sort of good guy front is also peeling back as he gets these powers, and he's sort of getting I mean, if he was popular and mean before, maybe he's starting to focus that in on I don't think he's focusing that in on the people he's historically picked on. I wonder if he's sort of turning against his own crowd as he gets his safe crowd as he gets more power.
And is it like, do you imagine that he's doing like actual spells that he saw on Tumblr, or is it just like his resentment builds up and somehow it just kind of this shit kind of happens?
Yeah, I think Tumblr was sort of a gateway, like a place where he could, to put on another front and put up some of his bad poetry and drawings. And that just sort of led him from one thing to another as he sort of found a community there that understands him a little better. And then that's where he started to find hints that there's other powers available. That's always one of the things I've never quite understood about Monsterhearts, and maybe it's just dependent on each group, is this kind of like is this Monster High, or is this a bunch of teens mixed in with powers mixed into a normal high school? And I don't know, Jose, what you...
I think we can go either way. I think we can go either way. Yeah, if people have preferences about that. Normally, I like to start off that you all are monsters, and you might just still be figuring out that that's the case. But at the beginning, you're not aware that anybody else is a monster. That doesn't mean there aren't other monsters out there.
Yeah, my general feel is it's play to find out that everyone else may or may not be a monster.
Okay, great. Right on. I love that.
Cool. And then I'm just trying to clarify something for myself, Travis, about Alistair. So he used to be, so say last year, before this transformation began, he was somewhat popular, but kind of a mean girl. Is that what we're getting? And then now something has shifted, and with the powers coming, awakening in him, and so he's not as I guess vindictive or mean. Is that right?
I think so I think historically before his powers, he got his sort of social power from the group of popular kids that he was a part of, and was certainly willing to be mean to gain his own popularity. I wonder if as he's awakening and trying to figure stuff out, if he's sort of mentally turning against that group, that because he got so much, because that was the source of his power before. Now he has another source of power. He doesn't I just see the facade starting to crack a little bit.
Yeah, like you don't need those other people anymore.
Right.
Got it.
So I wonder if he's still the same old sort of clothes, but with one black pinky fingernail.
I'm gonna write that down. One black pinky.
And I like the image. That's a mid-journey image. I like that, thinking about him being the high school photographer, newspaper photographer, whatever it is, yearbook photographer.
That's a great image. I like the glasses with the tint also. Excellent. Great. I think that's a great start on Alistair. Circling back for a second to Chloe, David, I noticed that you didn't put an origin on a Chloe. Did you want to do that, or did you want to hold off on that?
Well, I'm not really sure what a lot of the origins mean exactly. I guess I'll put down bartered soul. Maybe that's
Bartered
what I
soul.
gave up.
That sounds appropriate to what you told us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then we come to our worm. Donna, you want to tell us about Belinda?
Yeah. So Belinda, she comes from a long line of worms. I think old money in town. Maybe that they've got this old big house on the side of the mountain, in a place that was never mined by the company.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the family have mined themselves. There's probably a big vault of silver in the basement, right? So I think she's always been aware of the kind of family history and the family tradition. They're a worm, and it's never been denied or something that they've really discovered. In terms of like appearance and outlook, I think pretty unassuming, kind of under the radar. All the better to be kind of watchful and taking notes and all that kind of stuff, but kind of straddling the line between popular and unpopular, just like included but not really thought of. So I think maybe in terms of like club activities, maybe like the newspaper and the photography club and things that kind of feed into that work.
A little voyeuristic.
Yeah. Well, if you're gathering notes, no better place to be, right? I don't have a strong idea of what their beautiful collection is.
Right, I was going to ask.
Like maybe like silver jewelry or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone has any, like if the rest of the group have a strong idea about things that they would like to covet, then I will go with that.
Right, because the move makes them allows them to get experience.
Yeah, so it says
covet.
Whenever you show it or part of it to another character, they find an object they covet. So,
mm-hmm. And then they can gain experience if they somehow acquire that object. Is that correct?
Yeah, when that lovely thing becomes theirs. So,
but the process of getting it to be theirs.
I mean, the setup is, I think, that you cut a deal for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you can get it whatever way works for you. I mean, obviously, if you sneak into Belinda's house, that couldn't possibly be dangerous, Yeah, the dwarves learned their lesson.
Well, we can leave it open for now what the nature of the collection is.
Yeah.
Until it's time
if people
to reveal it. It'll be revealed at some point.
Yeah, and I think the fiction here is that, like, regardless of what you have, when you reveal something, the other player can say what about it makes them covet, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, Stephen. I think it makes, obviously you're going to decide what in particular in the collection your character likes, and then what they like about it. It's not like I'd be prescribing any of those things. So yeah, we can describe it in very general terms, and leave it at that for now.
Yeah, that sounds good. And now your origin is in your blood. I'm going to ask you the same kind of questions that I asked Stephen. What's your relationship? I mean, do you know you're a dragon? And your family's clear about that's their heritage, or where are you with that?
Yeah, I think it's very clear, and like since Belinda was young, or at least like maybe when she became a teenager, it was like, okay, now we're gonna bring you into the family secret, or whatever the kind of process is, and I think functionally they're like an only child, but like there's older siblings who have moved on, like so maybe she's the only one in the house.
Baby photos. And that sounds like her family is old money, you mentioned, you know, so they've probably been in the town for forever.
I mean, maybe like one of the earliest prospector families, right?
Mhm.
As soon as there was a whiff of a new silver strike, then, you know,
yeah, who knew that the mining was going to be such a good tie-in for the worm? At least I didn't think that through when we did it. Perfect. Can you say a little bit more about Belinda's perspective on her classmates and other people around her? You said she's kind of like middling. She's unassuming, but not unpopular. But does she have friends, or does she, or is she kind of removed?
I think she doesn't have friends. She has people who she treasures and wants to control, or people who are a means to an end. So quite cold, and yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe she pretends to have friends. She hangs out with people because that's what you have to do to keep your kind of status going. But yeah,
but it's a
I
front.
think at this stage she hasn't really gotten this whole friendship thing.
And we'll explore some of those treasures and tools when we do our backstory, which is actually our next order of business. So if you scroll down, let's see, what rows are those? They are 33 and 34. There's a backstory dynamic here, or a mechanic that we go through at this point, where we are basically describing people who have influence or are connected to us, and doing that through a mechanic called strings. And the way we'll do this is maybe we'll go backwards in backwards order on the character keeper, and each one of you will do one of your backstory prompts. You can choose which one, and then we'll come back through and do it again. And so in that process, you will gain strings, and also other people will gain strings potentially on you. And in terms of bookkeeping, I'd like you to keep track of the strings that you have on other people. Don't worry about the strings that other people have on you, because those will be listed on their sheet. And I'll keep track of any strings that might be held by NPCs. Yeah, so let's go through and do the backstory prompts. We'll start with you, Dana. Which of your backstory prompts do you want to start with?
Well, yeah. Let's start with treasure, because I have to decide that first, or by process of elimination. So I have to decide whom I treasure. Describe the moment each caught your eye. I guess I can choose more than one. Let's choose one. Does anyone really want to have a stalker, or will I make that decision for you? Or rather, does anyone not want to be, a treasurer?
I'm fine either way.
Looks like people seem game, so
yeah. So many good choices. But I'm telling myself I have to pick one. I can't get everything in the shop. I think Chloe.
Okay.
If that's all right, David.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. And I think the moment Chloe caught my eye was like right when she was at the kind of breaking point before making that infernal deal. So when she was at her lowest ebb, and maybe I saw something where she was trying to struggle to come up with the courage or come up with the impetus to break out. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, that works for me.
Oh. So then mechanically, David, you'll take a string on, Chloe will take a string on Belinda.
So I'm not sure whether that means the kind of flip side is you have noticed that I treat you differently than I treat other people. I don't know. Or do you want it to be like kind of tacit?
I like the idea that I notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's possible to have a string that you don't really know you have, but it's I think it, yeah, but it's I think more usual for it to be a string that you have some sense that you have an influence or some connection to. Yeah. Okay, great. So then if we move to the left on the character keeper, it's Travis. You want to do one of your backstory prompts?
Yes. Two sympathetic tokens. So they are something physical that belonged to some of the characters.
And I'd note sympathetic tokens you have separately from your main strings. They can be spent as strings, but they also have important things for your playbook.
Okay, right on. Thank you. Stephen, is there something woodsy that August would have lost to, or that Alistair could have stolen?
I mean, I definitely think like I have several of these baggy jackets. Like I think I have a couple. And I think you definitely could have grabbed one at some point.
Left unattended.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stephen has a good point. Yeah, maybe list the sympathetic tokens separately from the strings, even though you can use the sympathetic tokens as strings. Okay. All right. Then Chloe, would you like to do one of your backstory prompts?
Yeah, let me think here. Let's do the first one. It is you owe debts. Give away 3 strings divided any way you like between the dark power and the other characters. So one of them has to go to the dark power at least.
Okay.
I think. But then who else would I owe debts to? Maybe there is someone whose friend group or someone who has kind of taken me in or introduced me to their friend group following Flip's death, and I kind of owe them for it, and I'm kind of vulnerable because they could reject me and put me back out on the street, essentially.
Did Alistair adopt you? You're just the pet the charity case for the group now.
I mean, that's essentially what I would be. Kind of the charity case is that maybe Alistair, would you like to go that way with it?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so Alistair, you get a string on me.
Okay.
And then there's a third one. Of course, I could just give that to the Dark Power too. I'm wondering if there's anyone, maybe Belinda or August, who I could owe a debt of some kind to.
I mean, if you're looking for someone to hang out with, I'm sure Belinda would be more than happy to, take you in, and maybe if Chloe treats that like my doing her a favor, then it kind of makes sense, right?
I'm wondering whether it's like a protection scheme. Protection. Somehow you're taking Chloe under your wing or protecting her from something, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that would make, I think, the most sense. Yeah, if it was like oh wait, Jose, how did you put it exactly? You said it was like a protection scheme, like protecting me from what exactly?
Maybe.
Or is
Usually
it kind of like
protection
protecting
schemes
from
work
them?
like you're gonna owe me, and I'm gonna protect you from basically from me.
Yeah,
right?
like if you don't pay me for the protection, then I will. Yeah.
But that doesn't have to be that way.
Okay.
It can be from something else. Maybe a bully, or maybe maybe Flip had some friends who somehow blame you
Yeah.
for his death or something. I don't know.
I mean,
What's
I wonder if
August's relationship with Belinda?
like I don't have one yet, but
Okay,
I
what were
don't
you
know yet.
thinking?
I was gonna say that like if we want this to go a little bit like I don't know how new. I don't think I'm new to town. Like I don't think I came in like last week. Like maybe like when you needed to get away from Flip, you would crash at me and my mom's trailer. I would let you crash there with us.
Right.
Like, do you think that would work as a string? Do you think that would work for
Okay.
you?
So I'm crashing at your
Like you've crashed there in the past when you needed to get away from Trip before he died.
Okay. And that's I'm sorry, I'm so foggy headed. You said that that's your place, August?
Yeah,
Okay, let's go with that. So you can take a string on me then.
sure.
And it's basically like a trailer, you said?
Yeah. Like it's a nicer trailer, but it's a trailer.
But you're holding, yeah, you still can hold it over me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Dark Power gets one string on me. So that's my first backstory prompt.
Well, I mean, I'm your friend. I'm not gonna hold it over you.
You could though. That alone scares me.
All right. Continue across, then we come to August.
Yeah, let me see here. Where is that? Well, I mean, first off, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Everyone gets one string on me.
That's straightforward.
Do you want me to do the other one here now, just because?
Sure, we
yeah,
can do you and then go backwards.
You've captured someone's fancy. Gain 2 strings on them.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I want to leave it open to Belinda as to whether or not she considers me treasure or currency. So I don't have a established relationship with you yet, Alistair. Do you mind if I throw you out? How have I caught your fancy?
I'm just going with straight up attraction, just beautiful fae.
Okay.
And I think this is very confusing for Alistair.
Okay.
And that's
This
why
is
you
kind
took the
of a
jacket,
surprise for
right?
Alistair. Yes.
Stole the jacket of your crush, yeah. Cool. All right, and then we going back across the keeper. Then Chloe, someone thinks that they can save you and gain a string on them. Who do you think that might be?
Yeah, excuse me. I mean, I've given strings to Alistair in August, but Belinda treasures me. Now, I don't know, Belinda, how you see me. I mean, the fact that you treasure me doesn't mean that you necessarily have my best interest in mind. You might treasure me, but as a possession more so. But you can still save possessions.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I want to save you for myself, if that's the what you're suggesting, or if that's an angle, right?
Alternatively, if anybody else thinks they can save me in some fashion, you can get even more strings on me. I know I think I gain a string on you. Is that how it works?
I was thinking about Belinda might Chloe gets the condition yummy, yes. Might know that there is someone vying for control over Chloe. And so if Chloe is the treasure, Belinda might be trying to save Chloe from the dark power. Or for herself.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean in any heroic way.
I can be envious and jealous, right,
Yes,
at the
exactly.
same time.
Okay. Yeah, would you just want to go with Belinda then?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I get another string on Belinda,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, that does it for me.
Great. Oh, and Alistair, I realized that we didn't do your second sympathetic token.
Yeah.
You were supposed to get
right.
2 of them.
Yeah.
You want to do that one now?
Yeah. So connection to August, pretty established. No specific connection to Chloe yet. And a bit of one to, no, not one yet, to Belinda. So this is something physical that I have of yours. Do you have an idea, David, of what Alistair could have of Chloe's that?
Flip's old jacket.
He's a
Or
jacket
some,
No,
or
let's go with
something that Flip had. Maybe a jacket's really big and bulky, and you want something more subtle. But yeah, something that used to belong to Flip that I haven't been, up until recently, able to get rid of, or let go of. It means a lot to me, even though I don't want it to. And perhaps I gave it to you because you were his friend, and it's better off with you. And now it has my emotional energy rubbed all over it, and you can exploit that to your whim.
What if that is Flip's phone with photos of the 2 of you on it?
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, like his old cell phone or something.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah. I mean, it probably, I mean, my guess is it doesn't, call anymore because I mean, I'm
Right,
sure it's
yeah.
been deactivated, but I mean, all the stuff is still on there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So some pictures, maybe compromising pictures. That.
Yeah, I mean, it was an abusive relationship.
Yeah,
so I
Flip's
mean,
an
if
asshole, so
yeah, I mean, if people are okay with that, then I'm fine with
yeah,
it.
if that pushes too many lines, I'm fine to switch that up.
Just checking lines and veils now, just see if there's anything.
I guess to clarify here, just for me, fictionally,
Mhm.
if Chloe knows that they're compromising photos on it, why does she give it to Alistair?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have willingly given it. Does the prompt say that I've given it to you?
Yep.
No, it just says you have 2 sympathetic tokens.
You could have just taken it then.
Yeah, I think then Alistair has some suspicions about Flip's death and your connection to it.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine I'm getting a lot of attention from people that I normally was not A, allowed to have, and B, had no reason to get. But now that Flip is dead, all these people are kind of swarming around me, and I don't know who to trust or what to do with any of it.
Cool.
The flip
Do
phone.
you think you could have found it at the scene of Flip's death or something like that if you were poking around?
Yeah.
Or yeah, or maybe like he didn't like have his phone on him, but that's unusual. And so where was his phone? Or it turns up somewhere. Yeah, but like there's some
Well,
connection to the
I
phone.
also want to check here because it's a thing that it's a sympathetic token on you, not Flip. So I guess the photos
The
are the
photos,
sympathetic token. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that will work. Okay. And we might as well do your other one, Alistair. You were rummaging through their friend's stuff, but they haven't said anything. They get a string on you. So who saw you doing your thing?
Yeah, we don't have much of a connection to Belinda, so
Yeah, Belinda likes to watch people.
yeah, that's true. Is there
Yeah.
one of the others going through your friend's stuff? Okay. Is there someone that Belinda saw Alistair rummaging through?
If you need an NPC, there are some on the classroom tab. That's
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
want to pick someone from the classroom, and they'll be
Okay.
the closest approximation to a friend I have.
Okay.
loosely defined.
Sure. Yeah, well, how is Yasmin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Rummage
What do you think you took of hers?
Some sort of family heirloom, maybe a brooch or a scarf pin.
Okay.
And where do you think I caught you rummaging? Like locker room or classroom or bleachers?
Yeah, her like her bag hanging over the back of a chair at a desk or in the
Yep.
cafeteria or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I didn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is how we
I
treat
can just see Belinda like having her meal in the cafeteria and just watching this whole thing carefully and just continuing to drink her little milk carton while it all happens. All right, so Alistair, so yeah, Belinda takes a string on Alistair. Okay, and then last but not least, Belinda, who is merely currency?
So each of you tell me something mean I said to you. Stephen, do you want to go first for August?
I mean, I don't know like how much of this is in like your like character, but something along the lines of uppity trailer trash or something like that. Like I'm friends with Chloe and I involve myself a little bit too much. Like obviously you need to be Chloe's only friend. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, there is a class difference here, right?
Perfect. I mean, maybe it's like what people would think of as an out of character statement, but like she's just saying the quiet bit out loud for once, Cool. And
So she said that to August in front of other people or privately?
I think maybe like a venomous private aside, you know.
A venomous private aside. Yes. All right. Got it.
But like, you know, you could have told Chloe about it or other people, no problem. And Travis, how about Alistair?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what is the meanest thing, the mean thing that would hurt Alistair the most. I think Alistair he takes great pride in his photography, and that Belinda called him some kind of knockoff. There's some famous portrait photographer that he looks up to and talks about all the time and stuff, and Belinda just said how it wasn't. I was nowhere close, or he's just a cheap knockoff.
Like at the editorial meeting for the school newspaper or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe
Are you the editor? Obviously, for the school
okay.
newspaper.
Yeah,
Belinda?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Belinda. Yeah.
So maybe everyone else who works on the newspaper thought that I said it without knowing who took it. So it was just there on the table, and I said, like, this looks like a cheap knockoff of, you know,
Yeah.
Jones, whatever the photographer is. But you know, I give you a look, and you know that I know it was yours.
Yep. Love it.
Harsh.
All right. So Alistair is one of the photographers for the newspaper. I get it. Okay. Excellent. All right, those are the backstories, I think, right? Did we do them all? Yep. All right, what's next? So, so the next thing that we're going to do is the homeroom, which is a more involved process. But we're getting close to the top of the hour. Why don't we just come back at the top of the hour and we'll jump into the homeroom? All right, see you then. All right. Now we're going to look at the classroom that you all share. This is a homeroom classroom, let's say. It's on the character keeper under the tab classroom, and I've populated it with just names and pictures and pronouns. And so what we're going to do is play around with putting you in the setting, and then also elaborating and endowing some of these NPCs with traits and relationships. And we won't get to all of them. We don't need all of them, but just a selection of them. And then we'll always have them here if we need them for more fodder, which is what they are. To be blunt about it. All right, let's go in character keeper order. Stephen, where does August sit, first of all, in the classroom? We've got 4 open spots there.
I think I'll be right here between Billy and Ella. Because I have a feeling that Belinda probably needs a spot that she can watch the whole class from.
That's so kind of you. So you sit next to Ella and Billy. Do you want to tell us something about one of them? Something about your relationship to them, or who they are. Endow one of them with some qualities.
I think Billy and I have been friends in that, like, we are both relatively new arrivals at the school. Both of our parents work at the casino. I think even like maybe Billy's dad is a floor manager, one of the floor managers for the night shift. And Billy knows the like backroom places for teens to hang out and get up to no good business.
The back rooms. Okay. Let me just see here. Where are we next? So we just did character keeper order, Jose. You can do this. I'm still getting used to all these tabs. Chloe is next. So Chloe, where do you sit, first of all, in the classroom? You don't have to give up the backseat to Belinda if you don't want to.
No. I was thinking, which of the 2 front seats should I take? I'll take the second row, I think.
One of the things was I grabbed something from Yasmin, so it doesn't have to be like, you could have been in the cafeteria. Actually, the more I think about it, take that seat, David, and I'll take the front row.
Okay. If it doesn't matter to me, but okay.
Yeah, it's good.
So, Chloe, you sit in front of Billy, who's we've decided is friends with August. What is it about Billy that just irritates the hell out of you? What happened between the 2 of you?
Okay, so it's something that happened between the 2 of us?
Or it could be a nervous tick, or it could be anything, actually. But there's something about him that really bugs you.
He's really trying to get me to help him score a date with another member of the cross country team. And that member of the team is not into him, but he won't stop trying.
Okay, so is that someone here in the classroom?
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead, name one.
Maybe it's Harriet.
Harriet. Okay.
And to clarify, are you a member of the cross country team or is he?
I am.
Okay.
Right. We established that you were running on your own and, some kind of distance running, right? Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Excellent. Okay, Belinda, are you ready to take your seat? It's been saved for you.
I'm very gracious.
No one
I mean, it
wants to
wouldn't
be on
be
your
the
bad
worst
side.
thing in the world to sit in front of Chloe, but like being able to watch everyone is obviously much superior.
So you have been watching people very carefully, right?
Yeah.
Who has changed kind of dramatically in the past few days? And how have they changed?
It's a good question. I think Quinn in the corner has changed dramatically recently. Like he has gone from this over the top social butterfly kind of person to being, a little bit on edge, a little bit freaked out by anything strange, or even not so strange. Like like a nervous tick or just getting hyper fixated on something.
Okay. He seems on edge. Quinn. Chloe, coming back around to you. Let's see. So since your breakup with Flip, right? You've had your eye on somebody in class who's kind of a new crush. Who is it?
I sit right next to Mario. Have we involved him in anything yet?
We have not.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
And what is it about him that turns you on?
He's soft spoken, but still confident. Like Flip had to like make a big deal about how tough he was all the time, and he was always trying so hard. Whereas Mario, he's very inwardly confident, and I think that's really hot.
Mm-hmm. Great. Travis, who does Mario have a crush on? You happen to know this.
Yeah.
He sits right behind you.
I think it's Yasmin. So he's looking at Yasmin. Chloe's looking at him. Chloe's getting some signals crossed. If you're all right with that, David, I'm not. Yeah, okay.
In love with Yaz. Great. And oops, I'm sorry. I can't remember the character keeper order. So to go back, next is Donna, Belinda. Tell me how it is that you have a close relationship with, well, you don't have close relationships. Maybe a close working relationship or some kind of arrangement with Yasmin.
I think we are in. I think we're maybe in a club together, but I think maybe maybe like she lives on my route home, and so we were just like hanging out together because we were both heading in the same direction after school. And then maybe she got me into a club, so I don't know. I don't know how.
Had she been over to your
Be
house
for a small town, but like maybe the fencing club or something like that.
The fencing club. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she couldn't get you in, and she was literally the only vote.
And then I think Steven, you're next, right? Who's the class drug dealer, and who wants to sleep with them?
Who haven't we?
It could be someone we were already endowed with something, or it could be a new person too. Feel free
Yeah.
to pick
Let's see. I think Alex. Sure, we'll go with Alex. I think Billy does. I think.
All right.
Yeah.
And what kind of drug dealer is Alex? I mean, is he, is he a really abusive one? Is he kind of a friendly one? Is he? What's he dealing? And is it vicious, or is it recreational?
I think he's a really bad one. Like, I think that there have been multiple times where he would have been arrested if his dad wasn't the sheriff.
Dad's the sheriff. Okay. Okay. Great. And then we go back around the character keeper to David. David, I'm sorry. Yeah, Chloe. I should be asking Chloe. Why is the Dark Power so interested in Harriet?
Maybe they think that Harriet has been I don't know, too lucky in life. And that needs to be evened out. Maybe they wish harm on Harriet.
Mm-hmm. And Harriet's one of your pals, or she's on the team with you, right?
Right. Well, we're on the team together.
Okay, too lucky in life needs to be put in her place, maybe.
Something like that.
By the dark power. Okay. Great. And then Travis. Who is part of your old group of friends? You know, the mean girls, that you are trying to disentangle yourself from now?
Luna.
Luna. And how is that going? Disentangling yourself from Luna.
Yeah, I think she is. It's funny. I went by the picture. My granddaughter's name is Luna.
Ah.
After I was like, oh, well, anyway, I can get past that. Luna is very unimpressed, and starting to turn her spite against Alistair.
Uh-huh. All right. And then lastly, we have Donna. It is really difficult
Yes.
back there.
It really It just reeks of social spite.
I fought and lost a fight with Luna to get that corner spot, right?
You fought and lost. What is Luna, since you sit next to her every day and you'd fought and lost for the corner spot? What has Luna told you about Alistair that has you intrigued? And you'll have to say, you'll have to okay this, Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Luna might know about Alistair's like secret Tumblr account where he follows all these like strange occult accounts, right? Does that sound good, Travis?
I love it. I think that's great.
And it's like, weird, what is this? You know, it's like so funky, you know, these pentagrams and candles and skulls and blood sacrifice, and you know.
Oh, we've gone to blood sacrifice
Just
now.
do you just quote some of that secret poetry in passing around Alistair?
I mean, I think the public, or you know, the kind of shared theory is maybe that Alistair is working on this schlocky horror film, right? So this is obviously research.
Got it. I have another question for August. Let me just look at the character keeper one more time. And I'm trying to track everything that we've already said. Sorry. What promise did Quinn break to you, and why haven't you punished him yet?
Quinn.
Quinn's the social butterfly who's been looking a little on edge these days.
Oh, is okay. Um. mm, hmm. I'm just thinking here.
Okay.
What would the promise be? Um. And if anyone else has a thought here, I'm kind of trying to pull this in myself. I think that that the maybe this is mysterious, but that he'd give me a ride home from Billy's party, obviously. But he was just gone. And I fucking had to ask Belinda for a ride home. And she said, "What's in it for me?" And I said, "Being an okay person," and she left.
Okay is not good enough. Yeah.
All right, and then this will be the last homeroom question. It's for you, Travis. Who survived one of your hexes unscathed, and why did you hex him in the first place?
As if it bounced off?
Somehow it just didn't take. Somehow you can tell me what it
Yeah.
looked like when it didn't take.
What were my two hexes again? One was the light and illusions. Okay, yeah. Rowan. We haven't involved Rowan in anything yet, have we?
Nope.
Okay. Rowan. We haven't, if we, I should take better notes, my apologies. But have we had anybody who's like too good? That's familiar, right? Somebody was annoyingly
Harriet,
good.
was it?
Wait.
Sorry, Donna?
I said, was Harriet the
She was
person who
annoyingly
had
lucky.
Yeah.
Annoyingly lucky. Okay.
And the Dark Power is interested in her. Wow.
Right. Okay.
Billy has a crush on her, which he was always annoying Chloe to set them up.
Yeah. I think, yeah, so let's say Rowan. Rowan is Rowan, no, not they, them. So who could, Ella then. Ella is like uber churchy.
Okay.
And very upfront about it. And I knew she lied about something, and I put that lying hex on her because I wanted that, because she's just so good about everything. And it just bounced off her.
So she just kept lying, and you knew she was lying, right?
Yeah. So it's sort of the ringing stopping her from talking, because I was just getting so mad at her. It just bounced off.
Awesome.
When you said bounce, did it go anywhere?
Oh.
Ooh, good question. Yeah. Did you get headaches? Or did someone else start having them?
Yeah, it was me. I think it sort of yeah, bounced back on me. And for like a week, I would get blinding headaches whenever I was making stuff up.
Which was all the time. So
Because you have a lot of facades, right? That must have
Yeah,
been a
absolutely.
difficult week for you.
Yeah, it was a it was an 8-day migraine, that one, which makes me hate Ella even more.
All right. So there's a hatred there. I'll just make sure I make a note of that. All right. So we're at 2.5. I'd like to save some time for wishes, not stars so much, because it's our first session. Let's do this. Let's start and see how it goes. But I think this might be the one thing we do. I'm imagining for our pilot the opening scenes during the credits when they're first rolling, and I would love for like a vignette, each of you saying something about how you're the morning before coming to school, or maybe the evening before, the night before, something, a slice of life, a memory fragment, how you wake up in the morning, something that expresses something about your character. Yeah, and I'll give you a moment to think about it. If someone is ready to go, we can go with them and then just go character keep order from there.
you're muted, Alistair, but I see you're talking.
There you go. I thought I hit that button. Thanks, Stephen. At the morning before school, you see Alistair in his kitchen alone. He's dressed his bag by the door. He bag, and you see like a motocross motorcycle helmet there, and he is making a smoothie. But he's having so much trouble figuring out his powers and where they come from and how he controls them. He's putting in like Shakespearean witch stuff into this smoothie. Like there's definitely a frog leg in there, and just weird, or like he's just trying anything. And so you see him sort of gagging it down and going out and getting on a dirt bike to ride to school. A street dirt bike. Dirt bike that can go on. It has a license on it.
Great.
Yeah. And I imagine he has to stop halfway and just rip his helmet off to puke it back out. Like he almost didn't get his helmet off the tent.
I think we have to see like a frog's leg quivering on the dirt, you know, as if it's still alive.
It's like chicken.
I love it.
All right. What about Belinda?
I think we see her in the kitchen. I don't know, like toasting bread on a range, you know, like an old aga or something, in a very kind of old-fashioned way, and like stoking the fire inside it to get it going. And her father kind of comes in. This is like kind of if I'm casting him, I'm like saying it's Rufus Sewell or someone like this, right? And like he is asking her like what's going on at school today, and like she tells him the barest minimum, you know, because she's still a teenager. And then, you know, he gives her some advice. It was like some Sun Tzu quote or something like this, you know, like as if everyone in school is like a trophy to be claimed or an enemy to be defeated, right? You know, and it's like buttering her toast, she rolls her eyes out the window because she's heard it 100 times before, right? But it's obviously something she does. She's internalized this strategic advice for surviving maths class.
How is it that Belinda eats that toast? Is she staring out the window?
I mean, I think 1 minute we see like the corner of it in her mouth, and the next minute she's just holding the opposite corner of it, like it's eaten in one the whole slice is
One
in
bite.
go.
Great. Thanks. Stephen.
Yeah, I think we see August kind of rolling out of his bed onto the floor, stand up and kind of blearily look at himself in the mirror, kind of pat down his hair a couple times, and then kind of we see also I think that like we see a bunch of like post-its that were written by his mom everywhere, but just have things like look both ways before crossing the road, no cats. Color blue equals danger thing, just weird rules that just have no like some of them are just mundane and some of them are just really weird. And like he there's some Egos that were already in the toaster his mom before she left for work. He pops them down, spreads some mustard on them, and eats and like smash and just kind of just eats them really quickly, like just not cleanly at all, and he's out the door. I think that's August's morning.
August morning ritual.
Yeah.
And as he steps out of the door, out of the trailer, what's the trailer look like? I mean, is it just like a bear trailer? Is it in a trailer park, or?
I think it's like one of the I think it's like one of those larger trailers. Like it has like kind of like that fakes that siding on it to give it the appearance of like a slightly more like it's not just like a trailer you pick up and move easily.
Almost a mobile home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I think it's a not a too fancy of a trailer. I think mom bought it when we moved to this town, or is at least leasing it. I don't really know the
details.
Yeah, the details.
Okay.
There's always a cat nearby that
No
mom
cat.
shoos away with like a broom.
Perfect. All right, great. And then David, Chloe, what do we see her up to?
I think that it's really pretty simple. I think she slips out of the house quietly and early. I imagine that she's got maybe just like a mom and maybe a younger brother, but neither of whom she really talks to or is super close with. And the vignette that I have is really very short and straightforward. It's like she will run to school every day. She just has kind of like one of those drawstring athletic bags with the shoestring straps, and she just has the books that she needs for that particular day and the assignments she needs for that particular day in the back of it, and she just takes off. And I imagine it's kind of this long stretch of desolate road, and because she is running, she's taking off earlier. There's no cars on the road, and it's kind of this blue sky overhead, not a cloud in the sky, and you get this overhead shot of her running, and a shadow passes over her. She looks up, there's nothing in the sky, and that's just kind of where it cuts.
Great. And I think we see as the as the credits, the title. I don't know what the title of our show is. Silver Springs. Let's call it that. We see Chloe running up the steps, looking over her shoulder as she walks into the school, which we have yet to talk about very much. But I think I want to end it there rather than trying to jump into the scenes immediately. Because I'd like to kind of digest everything. So much has happened. So much we've done. So much setup. I'd like to digest some of that more before we jump into the interactive scenes. But I would like to just do a round of wishes and get a sense of where you guys want to go and what's feeling like things that you'd like to explore based on your character already and what we've set up already. So why don't we just keep going along the direction we've been going? And Travis, do you have any wishes? Oh, Travis, you're not going to be here next time, right?
There it is. Yes, that's right. I can't
Okay.
be here next Saturday. And we're skipping 2 Saturdays from now, is not scheduled?
Yes, the 27th, that's the Memorial Day weekend, I think. Yes, we are
Yeah.
skipping that one. Yeah.
Right. Yes. In
So, but
Canada,
you
our
still get to
holiday-
have wishes.
Yes. Yeah. Our holiday weekend's the weekend before in Canada. So
Oh, I see.
wishes. I just want to see Alistair trying out his powers in losing control. So him have to deal with the outcomes of not being able to control his power. I think we've got some great relationship stuff. I'm loving the strings and the classroom setup. So yeah, just looking forward to exploring the relationships with the other characters. But for Alistair, I'm thinking
Yeah.
the consequences of losing control.
Great. And so I will put these wishes. There's a spot in the Keeper, I believe it's on, I don't know which tab.
Classroom, I think, right?
It's on the Classroom tab. Yeah, and I'll put those in, or you can put them in if you want to. But I'm taking notes here. Like I also said, I'm going to make a Miro board, and I'll try to articulate a lot of the relationships that we have. And so one thing we might think about in terms of for next time, whenever next time happens for each of you, is looking at connections in the Miro board and thinking about which ones you might want to explore with a scene. And so it's a nice way to think about, oh, what might I want to do? Which connection do I want to, or web of connections do I want to explore with a scene? Like, where would I like to see, Alistair's powers go out of control, for instance? And you can do it that way. So great. All right. And then Donna, any wishes?
I think I'd like us to kind of establish what Belinda's collection is. Maybe I'll have some thoughts offline. But maybe I'd like to see her use that as leverage to get something out of someone else. So yeah, the manipulation begins.
I was thinking for some reason with the collection, rather than having it all be one thing like silver jewelry, having it be kind of something more thematic or idiosyncratic to relationships to people. But I don't know what that looks like. But if something occurs to me, I'll put it up on Slack. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the collection is as well. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Stephen, any wishes?
Yeah, I just have thoughts in my head about bothering all these other player characters who seem to have a strange interest in Chloe to figure out what their intentions are with her.
All right. Bothering PCs about
Yep.
their interest in Chloe. And Chloe. David. Any wishes?
I would like to get some chances to start giving innocent souls to the dark power.
Little recruitment.
Work sacrifice recruitment. I don't know what I want. I need to figure that out. But yeah, I'd like to get a chance to start working toward that as I kind of unwillingly turn into a rather unsympathetic person. But yeah, that's all I can really think of. And yeah, just having lots of chances to interact with the other PCs and get ingrained with them.
Great. All right, great, everybody. Well, thank you for that session 0. I think we've got a rich setup. Like I said, it'll take some time for me to digest all of this and start putting it together. And the process of creating the board helps me too. So I'll send that to you as soon as it's ready. And Travis, it'll be a while before we see you because of the taking the break. So it'll, but you will be back and we will play. So
and I am not bothered if Alistair gets into some shit while I'm away.
In your absence.
Yeah, if you need Alistair for any plot points, ride him hard.
We can ride him hard. Okay, great.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep him in one piece for now.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jose.
And I'll see you all either next week or the next time. All right.
Jose, I'm good for you to post the recording. You know, if you're
oh, thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
guys
I'm
good,
good too.
good to post the recording? Thank you
Totally.
for the reminder. All right.
Take care.
Bye.
See you guys.